Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. The name of the show is True Crime Tuesday, but a lot of times we delve into fiction. And there's a reason for that, because there's a lot of good fiction out there, folks. A lot of good true crime fiction out there. In this case, exceptional true crime fiction. I have a book in front of me that I had the pleasure of reading over the weekend that, let's just put it this way, is exceptional. In fact, I would say it's probably, I've said on this program time and time again, I think I found the best book I found all year. This one has to be the best book I found in the last 5 years, folks. It riveted me. In fact, as I'm reading it, I'm thinking to myself, how does Hollywood make this into a movie? How does Hollywood make this into a blockbuster? Because I can see this as I'm reading it being a blockbuster. In fact, I can kind of see some of the actors that would be in this movie as I read it. And I can see the way, I can see scenes, I can see how it develops, I can see some of the actors that may potentially play it, but then I see how the actors should look in my mind. In fact, our guest today has put this book together so well that it's going to keep you on the edge of your seat the entire time. And I can guarantee you, as you read it, you don't know the ending. That's how good this is. You don't know the ending. Ladies and gentlemen, the name of this book, and we're going to get into it right now, is called You Are Fatally Invited, a Novel. Our guest today is Ande Pliego, and she has done the impossible. She stumped everybody. I guarantee it. And we're going to bring her in here now to True Crime Tuesday because, like I said, this book is absolutely genius. And we'll bring her in to explain what the plot of this is, because even the plot itself is genius. Let me tell you a little bit about Ande before we bring her in here. Ande, edit point here, Ande, because I was going back and forth between here we go. When not reading or writing, Ande Pliego can usually be found dabbling in art, scheming up her next trip, or making constant expeditions to the library. She was born in Florida, raised in France, and having left footprints all over the globe, Ande is settled in the Pacific Northwest with her craftsman husband and little son. The book You Are Fatally Invited, believe it or not, is her debut novel. You would never know it by reading it. I would think by reading this book, this was probably her 10th book. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in for the first time to True Crime Tuesday, Ande Pliego. Ande, welcome in, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and for those kind words. Those are amazing to hear as an author.
Oh, I got to tell you, I didn't want to put this thing down. I had to because eventually I had to eat, I had to sleep, I had to, but I as I'm reading this book, I'm riveted. And the thing about this book, and again, I'll have you summarize the plot here in a bit because I feel I won't do a good job of doing it. But okay, I'll give it a shot. The way I interpret it, you have, I can't do it. I'm going to have you do it. But the way you tell the story from multiple people's point of view is not the first time I've seen this, but the way that you manage to get inside the character and yet feed us the characters incognito and then eventually reveal them is brilliant. And then to mix us up and give us a game of Clue at the same time, which I could tell you're a huge fan of Clue, keeps us on edge as well. And you always keep us guessing as to who this is that is murdering people on this island. Okay, so now let's give people the basic overlay of what this brilliant book is all about.
Wonderful. So the story follows a writer's retreat for thriller authors that goes perfectly, wonderfully according to plan, and nothing ever goes off script for it. If you are the murderous author who planned the retreat, invited everybody to arrive. So it's the way I put it is, and then there were none meets Clue, and author Catherine Ryan Howard added meets Stephen King's On Writing, which is really fun.
Yes.
Yes. So there's that meta authorial element to it where they all know the tropes. They all know, the things that should be causing red flags in readers' minds when they're reading a book. And they have to figure out how to survive the tropes. So, yeah.
That's brilliant. That's a great way of putting it, and a great way of summarizing it. And the interesting thing about this is the author that gets everybody onto his island. I'll use his here. His island has done it, and it's a beautiful island, beautiful mansion that everyone is assembling to. These different writers are assembling to. Has hired an event planner to put everything together. Mila, who has been put into this situation too, where she's working for him, she's getting instructions from him. Yet we find out she's just as much in the dark as they all are in this whole deal. I mean, she's getting the instructions, but she's just as much in the dark as they all are.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that was one of the most fun elements, was having a character that... So I've always been intrigued by the locked room genre, but always wondered, what was it like for the person who was manipulating things? The things like, someone making a house seem haunted or something like that. Like, are they running around down the halls, knocking on things with hammer, what is that person doing? And so with Mila, I got to explore that a bit, where she knows more than the authors do. And she has her set of instructions, but she doesn't know the murder aspect of it. And so she's, doing various things like cutting off the Wi-Fi, and, she's got these hidden cameras everywhere. She's manipulating things. But then once the first guest appears and they're dead, she realizes that it's a bit more of a darker game than she had even thought of. So it was fun to get to play both sides of that with her character.
Now, there's an interesting twist to this game in which the author that's put this together wants every single one of these authors to admit a sin. They've all committed a terrible sin. And the whole focus of this retreat is that they're to confess their sins. Mm-hmm. That they have to come out with it. And this part Mila understands.
Yes.
She understands that this is all about, well, for lack of a better term, it's about retribution. It's about getting it out. It's about them turning over a new leaf. And it's about, I wouldn't say revenge. It's not about revenge, but it's about everybody. Well, maybe it is a certain amount of revenge, isn't it? You tell me.
For one author, so the fun bit of this, which is kind of the other part of the hook, is that, so even though she doesn't know why they're all there, why this particular set of guests are here, and what they've done, she has a connection to one of the authors. And so she's personally planning her revenge on that author. But for everyone else, it's more of a, we're finally going to get justice served in some way for these, these authors, and they can't get away with whatever they did. So it's both, depending on which authors you look at.
And it starts off fast, which I always love about a good novel. It always starts off fast. There's nothing, there's no lollygagging. There's no, it's boom, boom, boom. We're off, and we're thrown right into the middle of it. And what are we doing here? And it's almost a shock as to, well, wait a minute, we're just getting to know these people. Why are we thrown into the middle of turmoil? But we're thrown into it right away.
No, I'm glad to hear that, because I think beginnings can be especially difficult, especially with a large cast of characters, and you have to lay the groundwork before you get too much into things. But yeah, for this one, I always wanted it to be, you feel a little bit like the authors, like you come in expecting one thing and then you're thrown into it, and it's a little bit different than you thought. So
I have to ask you this, Andy, because I am, but I'm not throwing away a little bit of the baby with the bathwater by telling people that one character is dead right away, right?
Sure. No.
So
there has to be bodies. So.
Right, there has to be bodies. But with the one character that's thrown away, you still have to build a backstory with that character, right? You have to make the audience care about that character. But you do a brilliant job of making people care about the character that had to be sacrificed in order to get this thing started. I think maybe we should talk a little bit about that character and the unique relationship he has to one of the people in the house, because it's a unique way in which it's a unique device in which you use in order to get us to say, wait a minute, why would you do that? Why is this person being sacrificed? But it's a character by the name of Rodrigo who ends up getting killed first. And sadly, he's married to the love of his life, who's also a co-author, and they co-author books together, but he's gone first. Why is that?
Yes. So this is fun to figure out how to talk through, like without revealing too much.
Sure,
but
sure.
He was a fun character to start with. Because since we have a large cast of characters, I take the reader through each person's point of view at some point in the book, but I don't give them all at once, because that can be overwhelming and make it hard to keep track of who's who and get to know someone's voice. So the story goes over the days of the retreat, and each day focuses on a new author. So we get their perspective in with Mila's, the event planner for the whole book. So for Rodrigo, picking him first, he's what can we say about him? He's the most suspicious of the bunch. So he arrives on the island thinking, what's going on? And this is suspicious. He knows someone else on the island besides his wife, that he doesn't want anyone to know his connection to. And so he's already going kind of like his hackles raised, a little bit on edge. But his wife, who doesn't realize these things, is super excited. This is a dream come true for her, and he doesn't want to ruin it. And so it's a very fun dynamic, because I feel like starting with Rodrigo, we get to see both him and his wife, their dynamic. So it kind of establishes their characters a little bit, which is important for the plot and for their, for building. Hopefully readers can connect with one or both of them from the beginning. So yeah.
There's some neat little Easter eggs throughout the book. At least for me, there are. And I know for our audience, there are. Part of this program is also a paranormal program. So you do have a paranormal writer in the book. Yes. So that's kind of a neat little, fancy little deal. The other thing is that the writer that's holding the retreat has this wonderful little study or room that has all these different movie items in them. Movie and TV items. And one of the things I thought was absolutely, I was giddy over, is the fact that Lucille from The Walking Dead is one of the items that he's collected in his study, along with other movie items that when they pop up, you go, well, how would he get a hold of them? But you explain in the book how he gets a hold of these items.
Yes. No, it delights me to hear readers catching these things, because I'm a huge fan of Easter eggs and, just hiding little things throughout my books. And for this one, it was very much a since it's a book about tropes and, all the locked room mysteries and thrillers and horror aspects that have come before it, how can we kind of tip my hat, constantly throughout the book. And so the museum room was really fun to come up with, and I deep dove into okay, what all can I include? What can I get away with? And Lucille, I'm glad Lucille makes a good appearance or two for a bit of it. So
when you do stuff like that, when you put the little Easter eggs in, are you hoping to hear from maybe, the creator, Robert Kirkman? Are you hoping to hear from him? Or are you hoping maybe to get a little note saying, hey, thanks for the shout out? Or is it just something where you're a fan and you just, I wanted to use it?
It's more of I'm a fan and just wanted to use it. So if anyone ever did note something in their book and reached out, or in the book and reached out, that would be amazing and wonderful to hear. But really, I just put it in kind of for me and just for the readers as a wink, wink, nudge, nudge,
Yeah.
A fun aspect for it. But
it was really cool. I mean, to see some of there's other things in there as well that I don't want to spoil for anybody, but when you see some different items in there from well-known TV and movie items, you just go, oh, wow. You kind of pop a little bit for it. So I had to tip my cap to you for that. That's kind of a little side note as you're reading the book that makes you kind of, as you're sitting there in suspense, waiting for the next thing to happen, you go, hey, wait a minute. That's kind of cool. How did he get a hold of that? Right. How do I get that at auction? That's
right.
kind of,
right.
Yeah. So what's interesting is the richness of the characters that you bring along in the different authors. You've got, and you would tend to think, well, and I'm not casting aspersion on your genre at all. Don't get me wrong. I've interviewed plenty of fiction writers. They all have different personalities, obviously, and we've had plenty of them on the show. But I think they tend to get as far as TV treatments, they tend to all get the same personality. They're a little snooty. They all drink chamomile tea. They might smoke a pipe, and they all wear a scarf, right? and they're all sitting by an old-fashioned typewriter, and they're coming up with the same three plot lines. And I think we all know the TV trope. For you, how difficult was it to get some separation there amongst the different characters, and how different did you want to make them? I mean, where did you draw inspiration from to separate them and make them so different?
Yeah. No, this is a funny question, because the way that I make them so different is by finding how they're similar to me.
Okay.
And letting, kind of separating that little piece and letting it grow into its own thing. And then thinking about okay, well, what would a domestic suspense author be like if we leaned into all of the tropes, and if they wrote, they were very prolific and wrote a bunch of stories. So the way I put it was, with each of the authors, I figured out what genres I wanted to have represented, or subgenres of thriller, horror-ish. And then I thought about, okay, what stories would people recognize? And one, for example, with author Cassandra Hutchinson, who does the domestic suspense thrillers, is her latest one that came out is A Bachelorette Party Gone Wrong. And it's okay, how many people have read that? Probably a lot. And a lot of authors have done that in different fun ways, but it's familiar. And so I kind of pinpointed, okay, so if I have someone say oh yeah, she wrote this Bachelorette Party Gone Wrong story, most likely the readers will be oh yes, we know that. And so then just really leaning into okay, well, what kind of person would, and I'm not saying, it's really funny, thinking about what kind of author could write these things does not, I'm not saying that, all domestic suspense authors are like Cassandra,
Right. Yeah.
But thinking about it, on the surface level, it's well, someone who writes domestic suspense that I want to be a fun, she's particularly a big character, a big personality. I was kind of how do I mesh those two? And it's well, she would probably be really nosy and into everyone's business. And, I feel in domestic suspense, that's a big trope, is, the person who's looking through the window at everyone else, or that kind of thing. And so there was definitely that aspect of trying to make sure each of their personalities ties to the genre in some way, not saying that all domestic suspense authors are that way, or, that's a common thing, but figuring out how to make readers be able to be okay, I can kind of see that, how that person would write this. And then personality wise, really digging into, what is the thing that makes them tick? What is their sin that Alastor wants to reveal? and how did that happen, and what would that have done for their personality and their stories. So it was very much a layered process of sitting down with each character, really digging through, okay, so what would their backstory be? What is this thing that Alastor thinks they did? How would that have impacted their stories and their career? And then going into the minute details of like, what would they sound like when they talk? What words would they use? What would their sentence structures kind of be? Like, what metaphors would they go for? Do they go for metaphors, or are they very blunt? Just kind of like looking out over all those things. So that's a long answer to that, but
no, not a long answer at all.
What it was like.
Not a long answer at all. I'm gonna I tell you what, we're gonna take our break here, but you came up with some very inventive games, not just necessarily like a clue type structure, but you made it a little more involved. I want to talk a little bit about the games they played when we come back, and why it wasn't just like a truth or dare type thing and have them come out and say it. Why did the author in this case, why did he want to play we'll put it this way, the deluxe mind game edition of things and try to what was the psychology behind trying to draw things out the way he drew things out? Why put them in the situation they were in? I know you said earlier that you kind of like the escape room feel of things, putting them in a situation and then forcing them kind of like a trapped rat to figure out what it is they were doing. But why the psychology of the game itself? So I want to talk a little bit about the games themselves. And why not just truth or dare, and then let's get it out. And then I want to talk a little bit about the mechanism of the house itself. Yes. Because the mechanism of the house itself was very interesting. Ande Pliego is our guest. Boy, folks, this book is amazing. You got to pick it up. We have a link in the description of this program. Go get it while we're in break. The name of the book is You're Fatally Invited, a novel. See, I'm so hyped up about it, Andy. I'm having a hard time saying it. You're Fatally Invited, a novel is the name of the book. Go get it in the break while we're gone. When we come back, the mechanism of the house and how it itself is alive and breathing and keeping its eye on everybody, even though the author isn't on site, or is he? We'll talk about that when we come back. And the games that everyone's playing. Why are they playing them? How are they playing them? And are they playing the game even when they're not playing it? We'll talk about that with Andy when we come back right here on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is author Ande Pliego. The name of the book is You Are Fatally Invited, a novel. Andy, I said it before, I'll say it again. Probably one of the best books I've read in the last 5 years. I started reading this book. I think I know. I tell you, I thought I knew the first third of the book. I thought, I know who this is. I know who this is. I got halfway through and I went, I don't know who this is. I totally don't know who this is. I got to the last third of the book. I thought probably, I'm not going to say which scene it is here on air, of course. I thought, I know who this is. I know who the author is because, again, I can't say specifics on air. I don't want to spoil anything. And I thought, I know who it is. And I got to the end and I said, I had no idea. I wasn't even close. And I don't get stumped like that very often. I really don't.
That delights me to hear.
Yeah. And I was shocked. And there's a line that the author says that is absolutely brilliant. I think it's worth the cost of admission. I'll tell you off air what it was, because it
okay.
I just thought that was a cinematic line. It was absolutely.
Okay.
It was.
I want to hear what it
cinema.
is. So.
Yeah. I just thought, wow, that's a line. And so, yeah, folks, I'm telling you, this book is amazing. Again, we have a link in the description of this program, so you can go pick up the book. You Are Fatally Invited. Again, Ande Pliego is our guest. So, Andy, before the break, I was teasing that we were going to talk about some of the games that they played. Again, I'll ask you the simple question. Why not just truth or dare and come out with it and admit your sins? Why not? Why the deep psychological dive, and why the slow turn of the screw, so to speak, to get them to confess.
Yes. So this was so much fun to work with. But the author who has planned this retreat for these particular thriller and horror authors, he is very prolific. He's written over 30 books, I think, in like 27 years or something like that. And he's like the name in thriller fiction. And this is his way of trying to write a story through real life. So we get a glimpse into his mind throughout the book. And this is one of my favorite parts of the book, is that we see snippets of his book on how to write a story on fear, how to write fear. And so in these snippets, it's his very dry humored take on, you know, like why are we drawn to stories that frighten us, and like what's the value, what makes them work. So it's a bit of a like thoughtful musing and also an insight into why he's doing things this way. And he talks a lot about like, well, when you think about story is about character arc and, you know, bringing character from point A to point B. And he decides to use these tropes that he's used and he's read, and he knows these authors have used and read. He decides to use these tropes in real life and to see, okay, can we actually make them work? Do they actually make people confess certain things? And so each of the games is centered around either targeting a specific author and getting them to admit something, or targeting all of them and kind of priming them for a big reveal towards the end. So, yeah.
I love those little snippets, by the way, from our author that come in and they say exactly what's on the author's mind, how he is manipulating little things in there, and how he's playing the game, and what he's thinking, and how he's taking after things. Because as you begin to find out in the book, not even Mila knows what's on his mind. Mm-hmm. She is in contact with him, but it's very sparse. Mm-hmm. And not even she knows. She's trying to figure out what's on his mind. She's trying to figure out what his game is, but not even she knows. So you can feel her frustration coming through the page, that she doesn't even know if she's safe, which is... It creates an anxiety, I think, in the reader. You know, there's this anxiety throughout the entire book that not even she's safe. If she's not even safe in this whole thing, well, how's this thing going to end?
And I think that's what's fun too, is that even though she, like, the book starts out and we know that she's planning revenge against someone, we know that she knows more about this retreat than any of the authors do, and that she's got little manipulations planned, and that she's cutting off Wi-Fi, and, you know, she's making these things happen. But when she finds out, oh, there's more going on here, it's really fun, I think, because you feel that frustration and that fear from her, where she's realizing she's trapped in a game that's a lot darker than she imagined. And also, but she's not quite on the author's side. So she's stuck in the middle, where she's in contact with Alastor. She's asking him, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And yet she's also kind of straddling the line, trying to help the authors figure out how to get off the island, to some degree. So it was a really fun dynamic to play with. I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
And these authors keep wondering, where is he? Where is he? When's he going to show himself? Right?
Yep. Because she's never met him. Mila's never met him either. So no one knows who he is.
Yeah. And the entire time that things are going down, she's like, you know, just throwing up the hands. And they're getting suspicious of her.
Yes.
And it's becoming a bad thing. Now, there are two other employees on the island. There's a chef, and there is, for lack of a better term, a housekeeper that are there.
Yep.
And at one point, the authors start to look at them and go, well, wait a minute. What's up with them? Can you give us a little bit of backstory about both of them?
Yeah. So we have Kurt, who is the chef, and he's kind of the young hotshot who, rose to fame really early in his chef career. And Mila hired him to come to the island and make all of these elaborate, amazing meals for these authors. So that was a fun element where it was like, we still get to keep the luxury element where he's still making, lobster and stuff there in the background. And so we have him. And then we also have Taryn, who is the housekeeper, who she's kind of a young sassy thing and is very all curious about who's Alastor, like, does anybody know? Like, what's the goss there, very curious. And so we only get to see them really from Mila's point of view, who she's their boss. She's kind of, keeping them on track. Like, okay, like, where is the food ready? Like, what's, you guys helping me out here? Until the authors, as you were saying, start to kind of be like, okay, who's on this island with us? So we know it's Mila, but then who are these two other people here? And what's really fun is that Mila, who does not piece this together quite right away, it's not really a huge spoiler, but is that Alastor specifically asked for Taryn and Kurt to be the chef and the housekeeper. And so then she's got to figure out why. So yeah, it adds a little bit of a, so no one is safe. No one is trustworthy here. But.
So the house itself, as we begin to find out, is itself a living, breathing item. It's a living, breathing part of this entire game that we're playing. And that it is the eyes and ears of not only Mila, who's able to keep track of everybody, but also of our author. Which is kind of brilliant because, as you pointed out, Wi-Fi's been cut off, yet somehow things function. Can you explain to us how this house is accessible yet not accessible?
Yes. So Mila has cut like the public Wi-Fi and phone lines and like ensure that no one can contact the outside. But the house itself has a closed system. And so it has computers and cameras everywhere that all talk to each other. And Mila has a smartwatch that she uses to communicate and send like messages to Alastor. So it was fun playing with that because it's a little bit of a twist on the typical closed off island where it's like, actually, she has a way to communicate with someone. It's just this person doesn't want to help. They're responsible. So there are video cameras everywhere. Mila's installed them herself, which is kind of a fun thing. But also, before the authors arrived on the island, the house got quite a bit of renovating to it, and certain areas of it were closed off and made into secret passageways through the walls, and secret doors were put in various rooms that may or may not be the author's rooms of the house. And so Mila knows, or thinks she knows, all of these passageways. And I think there's a line in one of the first chapters where she talks about, like, before the authors came, she would time herself to see how fast she could get from one end of the house to the other through these passageways. So I always thought it would be fun to play with the idea of a locked house where you know that there's the person prowling around and stalking around. Yeah. But you don't know how they're suddenly, over here and then suddenly they're over here. So with this, it was like, we get to actually poke at that a little bit affectionately and have Mila have to figure that out. Like, okay, how do I be in two places at once kind of thing?
Yeah. Because especially with an old house like that, I mean, again, we're playing with paranormal stuff that could be or couldn't be paranormal, stuff that, I mean, stuff that should have a real explanation and does have a real explanation, but people are going, well, wait a minute, I just saw you there. I mean, you've heard of doppelganger syndrome before, right? People could say, well, I just saw you over there. Why are you here? Type stuff. And it's stuff that plays with the mind. There are people that are actually in the house, people like Fletcher, who are extremely not only narcissistic, but cynics that would say it's just your imagination. You didn't see anything that happened like that. She has to come up with very real explanations as to why she would be in two places at one time and manages to come up with those answers. But it's hard to come up with those answers. Yes. Without revealing herself. I mean, but she manages to brilliantly do that, which I'm impressed with a lot of the things that she manages to do behind the scenes. One of the things I'm wondering how far we can deal into this, and I know it's not far, but maybe we can tease it a little bit. As Mila has a little bit of revenge on her mind, there's also something else going on in the background that she never figured would happen, and that's a little bit of chemistry with one of the people in the house. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So Mila's a big reader. She's read all of their books. And so she has an idea of who they are mostly before she's even given the guest list of who's going to be at the island. And one of the authors on the retreat is Ashton Carter, who happens to have written one of Mila's favorite books. And so she sees his name on the list and she goes, oh, I wonder what he did, why he's here. But part of the fun of that is that, so Ashton wrote a YA crossover paranormal thriller, which for each of the authors, I'm so glad that I did this, is we get a snippet of their own books, and which gives really a flavor for like what kind of story they write and their personality coming through a little bit more. And their stories may or may not have to do with something that they did in the past. So Ashton's story is a very angsty YA paranormal thriller about a pair of best friends who the girl comes back after drowning and she's brought something back with her. So, very fun there. Yeah. But that story really meant a lot to Mila. And so while she's welcoming the authors, and there's this, author that she loves, and he happens to be around her age and really attractive and funny. And so she's also trying not to get his attention and not trying to focus on him. But also she's like, I really love your book, and so it's a fun dynamic to play with. And he's able to uncover a little bit of a different side of Mila, which I think was really good for that to come out. So,
and he's very attentive to her throughout the entire book, and she doesn't quite know how to handle that. I mean, she likes the attention, but at the same time, she's fighting it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think focusing on how each of these different authors would connect or not connect with Mila, kind of like what would their interaction be. And we definitely get to see them interact probably the most, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun indeed. I got to give you this. There's characters in this book that, and I can't say too much, but you disguise them very well throughout most of the book, and then they reveal themselves at the end.
Yes.
they're in fact, they're so well disguised. You go, really? I mean, you never saw any of it coming. And again, I wish I could say more, but I can't. And you're surprised at how quickly they develop. Yet I think if you go back and you kind of page backwards and look, there are little hints. There are little hints there that they are the way they are. It's just there's so much going on, and there's some of the characters are so loud, and I think you'll agree with this. Some of them are so loud that they take center stage, and you're not looking for the nuances, but the nuances are there. Is that a purposeful thing that you put there so that you're dropping Easter eggs so that people will eventually see it maybe on second blush, third blush as they go back and look? Or is it something that an attentive reader really should pick up?
It's very much what I'm hoping for is that really attentive readers who want to play detective will pick up on certain twists and pick up on certain things. I really hope that I still get them with other twists and other reveals. But it's so I want to reward readers who really are paying attention and really trying. But it was very much so there are lots of hints peppered throughout and lots of red herrings peppered throughout.
Yeah.
So my goal was to make readers conspiracy theorists about these characters in this book and picking up on various things that may mean something or may mean something different. So that was very much highly on my mind as what I was revising, with making sure I'm giving all of these breadcrumbs, giving these paths that they can go down and these rabbit holes they can fall down. But then leading it to the end, and my goal with the end was that readers would be able to look back and be like, oh, I forgot about that, or I didn't realize that that meant this, or that kind of thing. So a reader just yesterday, I think, messaged me and said, this twist really got me. And then I thought about it and realized I'd forgotten that this character said this to this other character, and, that. And so that's exactly what I hope for with that. Yeah.
Okay, again, without revealing too much, do you see a sequel to this book?
I think the story has it's run where it's supposed to go. Okay. And I could definitely see like fun short stories coming from it, or like maybe a collection of the author's books. There's more to each of them, and I could definitely see writing more of those. But this story and these characters, I think that they've ended up where they should be. And unless, something miraculously comes where it's like, oh, this would definitely be the continuation, for it. I think that it's run its course, and I'm really happy with where it ended up. Although I will say that because I am such an Easter egg person, probably all of my adult thrillers will in some way have nods to each of them.
Okay.
So I'm working on book 2 right now, which is a standalone. It's separate, but of course I'm going to fit in some little nods to it. So this is a fun Easter egg for readers.
There's a secondary antagonist in the book, and I think you know who I'm talking about, who I think you could spin off into an entirely different line.
Yes.
Yeah. Who yes. I think would be a great primary character.
There's so much behind each of the characters, especially that character.
Yeah.
But I actually, while I was writing this book and revising it, I actually spent a lot of time writing scenes from most of these characters' backstories. So I have a ton of other material that, like went behind what you see on the page. And I'm really glad that carries over into what is there, because I very much wanted it to be to feel like each character could be their own main character, of a story.
With that in mind, Andy, before we leave people today, I have to ask you this: when you kill off, because you put so much effort into these characters, and they are, each one of them you find yourself attaching to in this book. You really do. You find yourself emotionally investing in each one of these characters, even the most narcissistic one. You really do go, a bit of an asshat, but okay, I'll I like them all the same. As they're kicking the mortal, as I can say it, as they're kicking the mortal coil, are you finding yourself going, I know I got to get rid of them, but I really don't want to, but here we go? Or is it just easy for you to just fillet them away and go, you know what, we got to get to the end eventually?
It's tricky. It depends on the character. So I usually start out with a plan of like, okay, these characters are going to pass away at this point, at these various points. And then that usually changes as I write. So can I say that? I think so. For You're Fatally Invited, there was one character that I killed off very early in an early draft. And then later on was like, no, that's not right. They keep coming back and I can't get them out of my head for the rest of the plot. So then that character didn't die at that point. So but for the characters that did die, even though I am attached to each of them in different ways, I know it's on the right course when I'm like, okay, this is the right ending for you, and I'm like, it's a good feeling, even if I love the character, and I'm like, this was so much fun to write. But yes, this is your place for rest. So that's kind of how it goes typically. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's face it, if you're not sure, or if you have second thoughts, there's always a way to bring them back, right?
There is. It's a trope. So
that's right. Yeah. There's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the book is out. It's amazing. And folks, we have a link in the description to this program. I can't encourage you enough to go get it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't stress enough how much I enjoyed it. I'm gonna sit and read it a second time because I know there's probably these little bits I missed. And so I'm going to reabsorb it. And it's probably one of those ones that I'll continue to read and enjoy throughout the years. You're Fatally Invited, a novel. Ande Pliego, thank you so much for taking the time out with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for chatting. Chatting murder and mystery is one of my favorite things, so I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Folks, we're going to lighten things up a little bit. It's time now for us to bring in Jessica Freeberg, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time, the time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And with that, we bring in a co-hostess. And so that means I simply reach my frozen hand across the Twin Cities, which it's thawing as we speak because, by gosh, it's 66 degrees outside. It's a little unseasonal out there. In fact, I know so because my chipmunk woke up and went, "Papa, what the..." And then it swore, and I've never heard a chipmunk swear before, but it's kind of cute because it's in a really high voice. So, ladies and gentlemen, we bring her in now. She's intelligent, she's witty, she's funny, and she's pretty easy on the eyes, and she's broke all records as far as the Hindustan Times is concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Jessica Freeberg. Jess, how you doing?
I'm good. I know I'm just thinking how great a movie would be if it starred like a little chipmunk that swore like a sailor.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
So funny. Like, remember that movie Ted with the teddy bear?
Yeah, yeah.
That only with a chipmunk, like Alvin and the Chipmunks, but naughty.
Yeah. What would you call him? You'd probably call him Chester the Swearing Chipmunk. No, or Charlie the Swearing Chipmunk.
That works.
Yeah, or what would you it has to be more of a have more alliteration to it, like Charlie the Cussing Chipmunk. That's what it would be.
Yes, there you go.
Or Chuck the Cussing Chipmunk. There you go.
Chuck's even better because that rhymes with something.
Oh yes, Chuck the Cussing Chipmunk. Right. You can't put it on a movie marquee, but it's darn funny.
Yeah, it could be implied. You could use the symbols and
the
such.
little bleep. Yeah, Chuck the Cussing Chipmunk. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think mine in the garage would he would qualify. I actually I went to go get Indy seats because Indy's the only one who's awake right now. He's an early riser and he's the last to go to bed. I'm convinced he's strung out on coke. I think is what it is.
He's a cokehead.
He's a cokehead, yeah.
It's just right for this movie part. I mean, it's made for him.
Yeah. But he woke up. I think he woke up earlier. I think he's been up for about a week straight. Yeah. Because I've noticed that like seeds have been disappearing, but he just finally made himself known on Saturday. But he, so I went to the hardware store to go get fresh food for him. And I ran into a woman in the, I'll make this quick here, in the hardware store, and she was getting stuff for her birds. So, and I'm proudly getting my black oil sunflower seeds and my peanuts, right? And she goes, "Oh, you have birds too?" And I go, "No, I have trained chipmunks." And she going, "Oh, Ash." And I was like, "Well, fuck you and your birds too."
That's right.
I mean, no,
I
didn't say that. I was like, "Oh no, they're trained." She goes, "Oh no, they chew through everything." I go, "No, not if you feed them."
Yeah, they only do that if they're starving.
That's right. You may starve your chipmunks, but mine are fed and they love me. So they don't chew through my stuff. So there you go. I think that's the key. If you're nice to them,
keep their bellies full.
Yeah. Then they don't chew through all your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've thought about that with the bunnies because we have such a bunny problem.
Oh, yeah.
And I always feel bad because we never kill the bunnies, of course, but my husband will trap them in a kind trap with food, and then he takes them out to a field and lets them go. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, no, I feel bad because they kind of live in families.
Oh, they do, yeah.
You're taking away part of their family.
Well, see, he's got half the equation right because we have bunnies in our yard, and we feed them, and you know what? They're never harmful that way.
Oh man, they're so bad here. They ate my Christmas lights last year. Like they literally ate the Christmas lights.
Really?
Yeah, they're crazy.
You know what I'm finding about most of these wild animals, Jess? They're pretty well domesticated when you put dishes of food out.
We're going to start doing that. We had a pet bunny, so I have a soft spot. He was the best pet. He was so sweet.
Yeah. I mean, you put dishes of food out and you put it out at a regular time, and they're like, "Hey, you know what?" And they look at their watch and they go, "Food's up." And then they go and they know what time the food comes out. And
just like my regular children.
Yeah. They go, "You know what? Food's on." And they know you when you come out, and they're like, "Hey, boss, what's up? Food coming on?" And they get to know you, and they know, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to mess with your stuff if you put food out."
All right, I'm really going to try that next winter with the bunnies. See if we can't keep their bellies full so they stop eating everything.
And if push comes to shove, you just look at them and go, "Hey, you little son of a bitch, don't eat my stuff because I'm giving you food." And then they don't do it. Actually,
when we had our big dog, he was a Vizsla, so he was a hunter, and he would catch them. Like he would go outside and catch them, and then it was over, and that was terrible. Like it was so sad and traumatic for all of us.
Yeah.
And then we got this pet bunny when we had him, and he was like, "What is going on? Why is this bunny in my house and I can't attack it?"
Oh, yikes. Yeah, that could be confusing. Yeah.
His eyes were constantly dilated for the first week. He just looked like traumatized and like he was so torn. Like they're telling me no. They said he's my brother. I want to eat him.
I want to rip his head off and throw it around the house. Can't do that.
But then after a while, I have pictures of them sleeping together. They became best friends. It just took a little bit.
So you're the one with the blackmail material. I see. Huh.
Yep.
Yeah. Now people are going to think I'm nuts. They're going to think I'm stark raving nuts here, Jess. But if you have a little conversation with them, like I'd tell them, like I tell the chipmunks, I'd say, "This is Papa's den. Don't chew up stuff in Papa's den." And they just kind of look at me like, "Okay, you just keep feeding me. I won't touch anything."
Yeah.
Minute you stop feeding me, all hell's going to break loose. It's an agreement.
Keep them fed.
Yeah.
Keep them fed. That's the trick.
Yeah. Keep them fed. Minute you stop feeding them, though, the agreement's off.
Yeah.
Switzerland
Imagine
no
it's
longer
the same with
exists.
children. You stop feeding your kids and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. Then they're going to destroy your stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. But you keep them fed. And surprisingly, nice stuff happens.
They're well behaved. Yeah.
That's right. See what happens? So that's your little lesson for today. Keep them fed.
There you go, folks. You learned something new.
Yep. And you know what? If you feed them their favorite stuff, oh boy, are they happy. Yeah. So see, little things you learn on this show, Jess. Little things.
That's right. We're here to educate, really.
Yeah, we really are. We really
Educate and inform.
Yeah, and entertain. So there you go. We're going to try and entertain you, not with dumb crimes, stupid criminals. We've taken up a lot of your time here. But, you know, especially with chipmunks and bunnies. It's spring, though. Did you have a tough time springing ahead this weekend?
You know, it wasn't too bad for me. I slept in a little bit. I mean, when I woke up and it was like 7:30 and I was still super tired, I'm like, oh, it's actually 6:30. That's not so bad.
It hit me like a Mack truck for some reason.
Did it? I know my husband too. He's having the worst time, but I took today off because my daughter had her permit test. And so we just kind of like made a day of it. And like, I didn't want her to feel stressed. So I was like, take a mental health day. We're going to stay home. You can study. We'll have a nice lunch. And apparently that also meant buying her a new snowboard and everything that goes with that. But that's a crime. Let me tell you, the price of snowboarding is a crime.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, I digress. So my husband had to get up and go to work, and we're just like lounging with puppies on our laps, drinking coffee while they walked out the door. Like,
what happened to nice, easy mental health day? I think yours probably deteriorated at the price of a snowboard, didn't it?
It was so bad. I mean, because you got to buy all the things. It's not just a snowboard.
Right.
You also have to get a helmet. And then you have to get these things that go on the snowboard. I think they're called casings. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are. But everything is a couple $100 minimum. Yeah. And then you had to buy the boots.
Yeah.
The boots were more expensive than the board.
I bet it was, yeah.
But she doesn't have a winter activity. Like, she doesn't do a winter sport. And she quit doing circus. Like, so, we were paying so much for circus classes. I'm like, I guess this is your sport now. So,
it's a nice cheap winter sport?
Sledding.
Snowman building. Yeah. It's a couple of gloves and you go out there with your imagination.
Tim, I missed the day when that was all my kids required of me.
Yeah. Snowman building. If you have to, draw them a picture, little outline, just say, here's what it's supposed to look like. Go out and use your imagination. There you go. And you know what?
Oh,
you don't have to spend a couple $100 on bindings.
Oh, is that what they're called? Are they bindings?
Bindings, casings, whatever you call them.
Yeah, no, I think it is bindings. I think you're right. They're really pretty. They're teal. Everything's beautiful. You
know what else is really, really pretty? That carrot you put for the nose for the snowman. And you can eat it if you get hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, I must have looked like just traumatized as I was checking out, and I'm like, are the gloves on sale? Because she found a pair of gloves she wanted to, and gloves are important when you're out in the cold, and they're so expensive. And he goes, I'll make them on sale. Like, thank you. That's the least you could do, buddy.
You could have just bought just the pair of gloves and left everything else at the store, and you could have used those for the snowman building.
Well, let me tell you, she couldn't just ski. We got free skis from a friend. They fit her perfectly. She had the boots, she had the ski, and then the friend's daughter loves to snowboard. So they went snowboarding last weekend, and she's like, oh, no, snowboarding's the ticket.
Oh, of course it was.
Killing me, kid.
Yeah. Next, it's going to be hot air ballooning, and you're going to have to buy one of those and put it in the backyard.
It's always something.
Yeah.
Oh, well. What do you do?
Well, you know what? I can teach her how to raise chipmunks. That's pretty cheap.
I'm sending her over.
All right. I can do that. I can teach her how to train chipmunks. That'll calm her down for a little bit. That'll be a nice, cheap.
That felt like free therapy. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Sure. Not a problem. Not a problem. We're here for you.
Thank you.
We really are. We really are. Well, today in the big show, we've got some interesting stories here, Jess. We're going to tell you why Pringles are are detrimental to our health. We got two stories today that you're probably not going to touch a can of Pringles for a while. I'll just put it that way to you. Also, we're going to tell you why we're going to be talking about pee-pee later on in our Not Safe for Work stories. That's coming up as well today. But first, we're going to take and read a story from one of our listeners. By the way, if you have a story for us, tim@darknessradio.com. You can send your stories for dumb crime, stupid criminals there. Police pull a partial car from a river believed to belong to a family that vanished in 1958. We're going to take a little bit of a off the beaten path deal here as we go to Oregon and Cascade Locks, Oregon. A crane resumed dredging on the Columbia River last week as it tried to clear a way to pull out a station wagon that's believed to have belonged to an Oregon family of 5 that disappeared nearly 70 years ago while they were out searching for Christmas greenery.
Oh, no. Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Police recovered the car's frame, and investigators said that they are going to use that to confirm if the car belonged to the Martin family. The search for family was a national story at the time and led to some to speculate about the possibility of foul play with a $1,000 reward offered for information about their whereabouts. Well, that's why they were gone for 70 years. It was only $1,000. Just saying.
But back then, that was a lot of money.
Well, it was. Back 70 years ago, sure. $1,000 was a lot of money. You got to up that as the years go by, right?
Yeah, today it's a stop at the snowboard shop.
Yeah. You can't even buy anything for $1,000 at the snowboard shop. Just saying.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Did they find the bodies in the vehicle?
No, but they found a snowboard and a pair of boots. You might want to pick them up on your way out, Jess. I'm just saying.
I'll take that snowboard.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, it smells a little, but I think you can probably clean it off. Just kidding. Salvage efforts were called off just before dark on Thursday and resumed early Friday of last week. While attempting to recover the car, the chassis became detached due to debris. Crews were able to recover the chassis and the car's engine around 3:50 p.m. last Friday. No human remains were found, but investigators are looking to find an identification number from the chassis and the engine to confirm if it is the Martin's car. The station wagon, thought to belong to Ken and Barbara Martin, was found last fall by Archer Mayo, who is a driver who had been looking for it for 7 years, said Mayo's representative, Ian Costello. Mayo pinpointed the likely location and dove several times before finding the car upside down about 50 feet or 15 meters deep, covered in mud, salmon guts, silt, and mussel shells.
Oh.
I love that song by Squeeze, by the way. It's a beautiful song. This is a very big development in a case that's been in the back of Portland's mind for 66 years, Costello told the Associated Press. The Martins took their daughters, 14-year-old Barbara, 13-year-old Virginia, and 11-year-old Sue, on a ride to the mountains on December 7th of 1958 to collect Christmas greenery. That, according to the Associated Press and their stories from the time. They never returned. Officials narrowed their search for the family after learning that Ken Martin had used a credit card to buy gas at a station near Cascade Locks, which is a small Columbia River community about 40 miles east of Portland. First of all, I got to think that the interest on a credit card in 1958 for gas had to be about 78%.
No kidding.
My God. Police have speculated that Martin's red and white station wagon might have plunged into an isolated canyon or river, the AP reported. The credit card purchase was the only thing to pinpoint the family's movements. 5 months after their disappearance, the body of the youngest daughter was found bobbing in a Columbia River slough. Or slough, rather, the Associated Press wrote. The body of Susan apparently floated free of the wreckage in the spring current and was washed to a backwater slough near Camas, Washington. Virginia Martin's body was found the next day about 25 miles upstream from where her sister's was located. The other family members were never found, but the search continued. The Martins had a 28-year-old son, Don, who was a Marine veteran and graduate student at Columbia University in New York at the time, and told the AP he believed that his family was dead. It's been a high public interest case, Hughes told the AP on Thursday, after Mayo provided part of the license plate number and other vehicle identifiers. The sheriff's office and the Columbia Gorge Major Crimes Team, along with the Oregon State Crime Lab, arranged to have the car pulled out, he said. We're not 100% sure if it's the car, Hughes said. It's mostly encased in mud and debris, so we don't know what to expect when we pull it out of the water today. Mayo runs a business that finds things that were lost in the river, like watches and rings, but also helps with the recovery of drowning victims. He had been looking for a research vessel that sank in 2017 when he learned about the Martin family. Mayo began digging up material on the family and used modeling to pinpoint the possible location, he went on to say. It's an interesting story. Again, not typically dumb crime, stupid criminals type material, but definitely interesting, that's for sure.
Very sad.
It is very sad indeed. Let's get into the dumb crime, stupid criminals part of this. Is an Illinois man leads deputies on a chase in a stolen ambulance in, I believe this is Milam County, Illinois. We go to Cameron, Texas? Really? Grant Saline, who is all of 30 years old, of Illinois, is facing a slew of charges after he led law enforcement officers on a chase in a stolen ambulance, according to the Milam County Sheriff's Office. Saline, on March 10th, was booked into the Milam County Jail on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon against a peace officer, evading arrest in a vehicle, and criminal mischief. The Cameron Police Department... Oh, I have a picture of him here, Jess. You're going to love the way he looks. I guarantee it. That, by the way, is a Men's Warehouse slogan. The Cameron Police Department also plans on filing additional charges for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and unlawful restraint. Let's take a quick look at our suspect, as he is quite the looker.
Oh, my.
Yeah. He kind of looks like a pre-Princess Bride Andre the Giant.
He does. He really does. And he looks like he has like something in his mouth on the right side. Doesn't his jowl look like he's hiding peanuts in there?
Either that. Oh, yeah. He could have some peanuts in his pouch, or he could have a huge chaw. One or the other.
Yeah, probably more likely a chaw.
Yeah, probably a big red man chaw.
So that's a guy who stole an ambulance.
Yeah. Stole an ambulance for a little police chase.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah, well, we all have to have plans on Friday night. Just saying. Some of us more adventurous than others. The sheriff's office and Cameron police were alerted about the stolen ambulance at about 5 a.m. on Monday. Dispatch learned from Allegiance Mobile Health that a man at a local hotel had called for an ambulance in reference to a mental health issue, and then jumped in and drove off in it once it arrived on the scene. Hey.
He freaking called for it. It wasn't like he was walking by. He literally called for the vehicle he was going to steal.
Oh, yeah. By the way, can you bring an ambulance by? I mean, he was ordering it like you order DoorDash.
Dang, that's something.
They just didn't know he was ordering it like you order DoorDash. How much do you suppose that runs if you order it and you don't put the deposit down? I'm just asking.
For the vehicle?
Yeah, for a friend. I'm just asking for a friend.
Think of how much it costs to just ride in the ambulance if you have like an emergency. Like that's thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. And usually your insurance covers it, but...
You think they cover it if you just want to take it for a joyride?
No, I don't think insurance is going to cover that. I think you're on your own there.
Oh, that's too bad. Darn it. Okay. Just wondering. Deputies tracked the ambulance to a location in the 2200 block of CR 203 loop, where a short off-road chase ensued before the driver crashed into a tree. I know they aren't going to cover that. Pretty much can guarantee you they're not going to cover that.
And then he needed an ambulance.
Yeah, probably another ambulance to come get him. That's for sure. The driver, identified by authorities as Saline, was arrested at the scene. State troopers with the Texas Department of Public Safety, there's no deputy there, but there is now, assisted in the chase and capture. So they got their man. He simply just got jail time. That's all. So there's that. Who says, Jess, that golf carts can't be dangerous when you've been drinking?
Oh, I suppose they could be the wrong person behind the wheel.
A lot of people think that, hey, I'm not going to drive if I'm having a few drinks. I'm just going to jump in the golf cart and go home, especially when you're like down in the southern states, like in Florida and, Alabama and the warmer states. If you live in a subdivision, they say, hey, I'm not going to drive. I'm just going to take my golf cart back to the house.
Well, think about if you gave breathalyzers to the people on the golf course driving the golf carts, I bet a lot of them would blow above.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, a man's been charged with DUI manslaughter after his passenger fell from the golf cart and died. Yeah. We go to Sumter County, Florida, where a Sumter County man has been arrested for DUI manslaughter after a woman fell from the golf cart that he was driving, and died. Florida Highway Patrol said that 58-year-old Richard Allen Keel of the Villages was driving a golf cart around 12:49 a.m. on Sunday on San Marino Drive when he swerved to avoid a parked vehicle. This again, folks, why you should never drink and drive a golf cart, especially at high rates of speed. You never go from turtle to rabbit when you're drinking.
No.
You
can barely walk sometimes when you're drunk. You shouldn't drive anything. Stay off your bike.
Right.
No scooters.
Right.
Certainly no golf carts.
Yes. And keep your speed down. Keep your speed down, folks. I know it's only a golf cart, but keep your speed down. Just saying. Keel's passenger, a 60-year-old Illinois woman, fell out of the golf cart during the maneuver. I love that they call it a maneuver. And suffered serious injuries. She was transported to an area hospital where she later died. Florida Highway Patrol arrested Keel for DUI manslaughter after troopers found him to be impaired. So Mr. Keel is on his way to court. And it's not the people's court.
No.
No.
This is the big time.
Big time. Big
He's
time.
in big trouble.
Speaking of big time trouble, Jess, we have another story from another one of our listeners. The FBI is offering a $10 million reward. This isn't the first time I've heard of this story, by the way. $10 million reward for a Canadian ex-Olympian accused of running a drug empire and ordering murders.
Whoa.
And when
what sport did they play?
Oh, now are you ready for this? It's probably a good thing that the daughter chose snowboarding. Because he's a skier.
Oh.
See?
That explains it. Those skiers.
Yeah. You just avoided a life of crime for your daughter. Just saying. Ryan Wedding has been added to the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives list.
That's crazy.
Let me show you a picture of Ryan Wedding, who's, of course, got the perfect Canadian balding haircut. If you take a look here.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that.
From skiing in the Olympics to running a kingpin drug ring.
Yeah, he's got the balding party in the balding business in the front and the party in the back. Yeah, he's got the.
Yeah, you kind of just got to cut your hair when you get to that point, though. Honestly, guys.
You think so? Has he balded enough to shave her down?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's pretty thin up there.
It's pretty thin up there. The air is thin up there. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Oh, it is thin up there. Boy, I just got a second look. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see scalp.
Ooh, yeah. There's it looks like someone has tried to play through on the top of his head as far as trying to hit the golf ball off the top of the old scalp. Looks like they took a couple of divots off the top. The FBI announced Thursday that Canadian former Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding.
He is a snowboarder.
Oh, they're good.
I'm taking all this stuff back.
Take it all back. Take it all back. You can't have your daughter involved in a drug ring.
No, not my sweet little one.
Former Canadian Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding has been added to the agency's top 10 most wanted fugitives list. Wedding faces several U.S. charges, including conspiracy to export cocaine and running a criminal enterprise and murder.
What? That's just crazy. It's crazy that he's running a drug ring, but even crazier that he's freaking ordering murders.
Well, you know what they say. Today you're hitting the slopes. Tomorrow you're watching somebody slope over and die.
You're calling in a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Not your baby girl, Jess. Not your baby girl. Nope.
Not my baby.
The U.S. State Department's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs announced it's offering a $10 million reward for information that could lead to the 43-year-old's arrest, along with the FBI's current offering of $50,000 for more information on wedding. Although I'm going to offer a solution to you here, Jess.
What's that?
$10 million is a lot of money.
It really is.
Have you ever thought about undercover work for your little baby girl?
I think she'd be good at that. She has a good poker face. You can never tell when she's cheating at cards.
There you go. Just get her on the slopes with the snowboard and have her do a lot of this. See if she can attract his attention. And then, boom, they put the little metal bracelets on him and you're $10 million.
We get ourselves some money.
That's right. And you can finally pay off that snowboard.
It's true.
Just saying. All right. Wedding's drug trafficking network allegedly regularly shipped hundreds of kilograms of cocaine from Colombia through Mexico and Southern California to Canada and locations in the U.S., and that's why we have tariffs. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Wedding is also accused of orchestrating multiple murders as part of these drug crimes. He is reportedly known by several aliases, including El Jefe, Public Enemy, and Giant.
Oh.
As in giant bald spot. And I say this being a bald man. There you go. At Thursday's press conference in Los Angeles, officials said Wedding is believed to live somewhere in Mexico, possibly under the protection of the Sinaloa cartel. Ooh, he plays for keeps.
Wow.
The Sinaloas, they don't play.
No, this is like serious.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Cart Weiland, who is a senior State Department official, told reporters that after his successful snowboarding career, Wedding went downhill in a different kind of way. Dun, dun, dun.
Clever.
Yeah, isn't it? You know, he'd just been sitting on that line for like weeks. He's
so excited he could use it.
He's like, I know how I can frame this at the press conference. You know, Wedding went downhill in a different kind of way. Right. Oh, Weiland had another quip. He said he traded snow for another kind of powder.
Oh, yes. There's so many of them in this story. It's amazing.
It's like this guy sat around the office writing really bad dad jokes for
He's
this
like,
story.
what cliche can I use next?
Prosecutors in Toronto court said in a recent letter that they believe Wedding has been on the run since October, when authorities first identified him as the leader of a major criminal enterprise that works with Mexican cartels and ordered multiple murders in Ontario. When they put the two together, they laughed hysterically for about half an hour, and then they realized it was a real deal. I'm just saying, you couldn't write that in a Hallmark movie.
No, it's so crazy.
It is. His alleged second-in-command, fellow Canadian Andrew Clark, was arrested by Mexican naval forces in October. Boy, there's a plot point you would never put in a Hallmark movie either. 34-year-old Clark was among the 29 alleged Mexican drug cartel members who were sent to the United States earlier this year in a mass handover overseen by Attorney General Pam Bondi. Really?
Wait, we brought him back? I thought we were sending them there. We brought him to I suppose we were going to prosecute him.
No, he's one of ours.
Oh, he is one of ours.
Or is he one of Canada's?
Hey, he's not ours. We don't own Canada yet, Tim.
Well, it's going to be our 51st state pretty soon here, Jess. I mean,
I don't think they want us.
Nobody
wants. They seem really mad.
Nobody wants us, Jess, but that's not how it works. Pretty soon it'll be Greenland, Canada, and in Panama Canal. It'll all be ours. So there you go. In addition to the I just sound insane right now. In addition to the drug trafficking accusations, Wedding and Clark, which sounds like interior decorators, doesn't it? Wedding and Clark?
It certainly doesn't sound like drug dealers.
No, it doesn't. If you'll just buy a kilo from us, we'll do your next engagement, if you will. We'll do a nice party. We'll cater the entire thing. Wedding and Clark are accused of orchestrating the murder of 4 people in Ontario in November of 2023 over a stolen drug shipment. The 2 of the deaths have been described as the result of a mistaken identity shooting. Oh, you never want to.
Oh, no.
You never want to.
Killed the wrong people.
Yeah. Well, they're not pros. I mean,
no.
They're barely pro snowboarders.
That's horrible. You're just minding your business and somebody freaking kills you because they think you stole their drugs.
You just hear this. Oops, sorry.
Wrong person, sorry.
Sorry. Because he is Canadian. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
sorry.
You hear, sorry. They're very apologetic. They're very nice people. When they're not killing you and filling you full of drugs. They're nice people. Speaking of drugs, this next story is a little alarming as well. A group home worker is arrested and accused of showing up to work on meth.
Ooh, not good.
No. We're going not too far away from Canada, Jess. We're going to the state that could be considered Canada, Minnesota.
I was going to say, don't tell me you're coming home, Tim.
That's right. We're going to Fergus Falls.
Darn it.
A Fergus Falls woman, 63-year-old Tina K. Fabian. Oh, Tina K. Faces multiple drug-related charges after allegedly showing up to work at a group home. She's high on the meth. Boy, oh boy.
Just tweaking out.
We were telling Tina K, you're way too wound up for this time in the morning. I think that's probably more than just a couple of pots of coffee, Yeah. Maybe you want to bring it down with a little lefsa. Put something in your stomach for cry eye.
Oh, man.
I got to imagine that's what the nurses said,
I think I can hear it.
Yeah. Well, I just said it. That's why.
I mean.
Yeah. She faces a felony charge related to drug possession and 2 misdemeanor DWI charges relating to operating a vehicle while impaired with drugs on her. Ballsy. I'll give her that. On March 2nd, just before 6 p.m., Fergus Falls police officers were called to a group home in Fergus Falls, the Gustavus home, at 229 West Gustavus Avenue. I think I know why they call it the Gustavus home. They're so original with their naming. According to the criminal complaint, an employee reported that Tina Fabian arrived to work intoxicated and was offered a ride home several times before eventually leaving the group home in her Chevy Trailblazer. Probably not a good idea to be driving.
She's going to blaze some trails.
That's right. Or blaze up something. When she was pulled over, Fabian allegedly failed field sobriety testing, but provided a PBT sample, which came back with 0.00 blood alcohol content. Fabian, of course it did, reportedly told officers she had taken meth. Why did you admit it?
Yeah, she owned it. I mean, that's a start.
Yeah. According to the complaint, when asked about marijuana that was visibly present in her vehicle, Fabian stated that she sometimes spills it. She's got a bit of the shaky syndrome. Oh, yeah, sometimes I'm just holding on to it for a friend and it, I got a bit of the shaky hand syndrome and I get it all over my vehicle. I sometimes spill it, I have a problem. Yeah. It's from holding up all those old guys when in their diapers. Yeah. It's a little hard on the nerves. A search of the vehicle reportedly produced several small clear plastic baggies containing meth. That could be a problem too.
Wow.
Yeah. Fabian was
stocked.
She is stocked, isn't she? Yeah. Fabian was taken to the Otter Tail County Detention Facility. one of the finer county detention facilities in Minnesota. I don't know.
So I've heard.
Yeah. Ask for the tour. They'll take you on one. Just saying. They got nothing better to do. All right. Got a couple of stories about Pringles that will unnerve you, Jess. Are you a big fan of the Pringles?
Well, not anymore. Remember I read that book that ruined my life? Now I can't eat processed food.
Oh, no, that's right. Oh, you're not going to ruin my love of Pringles here, are you?
Well, I think you're going to ruin it for yourself.
Maybe.
It sounds like.
I love me some Pringles. I'm not going to lie. Okay.
They are yummy. They're good.
Tell me something about Pringles that'll ruin my love of them so I'll stop eating them. Because I love...
Well, I mean, they're just really bad for you, Tim.
Are they? Like how bad?
Yeah, but they're delicious.
They are. They're so good.
What's your favorite flavor? You just original?
I'm a sour cream and onion guy.
I love sour cream and onion, and cheddar is my second.
Yes.
But sour cream and onion's top.
Yeah, sour cream and onion is the best. Okay. We'll start in LA for the first one. Pringles, a secret code, and the LA deputy are used to smuggle heroin into lockup over there in LA.
Wow.
Yeah. You would think if you could pop just one, you wouldn't stop, right? And that would lead to heroin, right?
Sometimes, I mean, they're both addictive.
They are, aren't they? What's more addictive, do you think, Pringles or heroin?
I never tried the heroin, but I know the Pringles get me every time. You can't just eat one.
No, you can't. Yeah, that's true. A 39-year-old Los Angeles County deputy sheriff accused of smuggling heroin to inmates reportedly conspired with gang shot callers using a secret code and tubes of Pringles chips to move the drugs. That according to a new report.
Crafty.
These Pringles taste like H. In law enforcement records reviewed by the LA Times, Deputy Michael Miser, arrested on April 30th of 2024. Investigators allege that he brought more than a pound of black tar heroin hidden inside 2 cans of Pringles onto jail grounds shortly before he was taken into custody. I guess that's one way of doing it. Deputy Miser, first name Heat, kidding, who was assigned to a special unit that monitored gang activity at North County Correctional Facility in Castaic, I believe. The largest jail facility in the nation, is among 18 people indicted in the smuggling operation. LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced the unsealing of that indictment in late February, saying it targets a large network of criminals who collaborated with associates of the Mexican mafia to get drugs into lockups. Half of those indicted are currently in jail, while the other half were free citizens, Hochman said, including Miser. The Mexican mafia, a syndicate of the estimated 140 imprisoned senior Latino gang members, assigns inmates in specific jails to run drugs and extortion schemes, the Times reported. 2 such inmates at the North County Correctional Facility, both of whom are named in the indictment, are 47-year-old Jose Rodriguez and 40-year-old Jackie Triplett. In February of last year, federal investigators intercepted calls made by the 2 men where they used coded language such as white Jordans or black Jordans, believed to be phrases designating methamphetamine and heroin. The entrance to the Pitches Detention Center, a Los Angeles County jail complex in Castaic, that indicates the North County Correctional Facility is. After one of these calls, Deputy Miser was seen on jail surveillance cameras passing Triplett a bag and a bedroll. 2 months later, in April of 2024, Rodriguez was recorded on a call using coded language to have $6,000 transferred to the Cash App of Miser's brother-in-law. A day later, detectives with the Sheriff's Department's Internal Criminal Investigations Bureau obtained a warrant to place a tracking device on Deputy Miser's white 2018 BMW. On the morning of his arrest, investigators tailed Miser from his Lancaster home to gas stations in Valencia, where a person in a red SUV passed him a Sprouts grocery bag, reportedly containing 1.128 pounds of black tar heroin wrapped in plastic inside 2 tubes of Pringles. So that ain't groceries he's holding. That's for sure.
No, it's not.
No. The heroin, according to the Times reporting, was worth more than $225,000 in the jail. That's a lot of cash. With guns drawn, sheriff's deputies stopped Miser and his partner, Deputy Jose Munguia, I believe, who is not named in the indictment, as they left jail grounds in his vehicle. Inside Miser's bag, detectives reportedly located envelopes holding $15,000 in cash. Later, in a search of his home, authorities recovered another $10,500 in his dresser drawer. Miser has pleaded not guilty to charges of conspiring to distribute drugs in a jail and involvement in gang conspiracy. His lawyer did not immediately return requests for comment made by the Times. A hearing in the smuggling case is scheduled for March 27th in downtown L.A. Pringles cans, Jess. That's how you get that black tar heroin.
Who knew?
That's right. Now, a more dangerous way to use a Pringles can has been found in Florida.
Oh, of course. Now they're really going to ruin it for us, aren't they, Tim?
That's right. If you ever go to the 7-Eleven late at night and the clerk says, "Hey, you're a bitch," and then wheels a Pringles can at you, duck.
Okay.
All right?
That could hurt.
Oh, it hurt big time. And by the way, if the clerk looks anything like this, you're probably going to really want to duck.
Oh, she looks so mad at me right now.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
She does not look happy, does she?
No, she looks really ticked off.
Yeah, she does not look happy at all. So just a little word to the wise. If someone calls you a bitch and is wielding a Pringles can, you're in for it. Just saying. A woman was recently arrested. There we go. Words is hard. In Florida after attacking a man with a can of Pringles and possibly causing him permanent disfigurement.
Stop it. Seriously?
Seriously.
Oh my gosh.
Permanent disfigurement, Jess.
These stories are no joke tonight.
I guess not, huh? 28-year-old Shanika Serdal stands accused of 1 count of aggravated battery with a Pringles can.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What could she do with a real weapon? She's scary.
Well, she is scary, yeah.
Dang.
That, according to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. The incident occurred on Thursday at a 7-Eleven on International Drive in Orlando. That's right, the home of Mickey and Universal. Pringles are no joke there, just saying. A deputy arrived in response to a call about a physical fight at the convenience store, according to a court document. The victim, a man, told the deputy that a male approached him and made a comment to him about his vehicle, according to the affidavit. Then inside the store, the victim asked the defendant if she was with the man who had inquired about the vehicle, police said. Somewhat abruptly, the narrative accounts for violence. That's right, they chose violence. The victim stated that Shanika eventually struck him in the eye with a Pringles chip can and took off running. Oh, they aren't very heavy.
No, but they got the metal in the bottom. So if you hit just right.
So if you use the edge, you bang and you stamp them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You hit someone with a bag of chips, not going to happen. No. Nothing bad's going to happen to them.
You stamp them with a Pringles can. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole new ballgame. Well, speaking with the victim, according to the affidavit, I observed that the victim had a significant cut on his right eyebrow and below his eye, causing him to bleed. Oh, they busted him the hard way. That's what they call it in wrestling, when they get you right in the eyebrow here. This is like a soft spot. So if you hit a guy with enough times with a knuckle right here in that soft spot, you'll bust him and you'll bleed like real hard.
Maybe she's a wrestling fan. Maybe she knows the moves.
Let me guess. Florida hitting somebody with a Pringles can and busting them hard way. I think she's a wrestling fan. Yeah.
I think so too.
I would think Shanika probably even wrestles.
She might.
If she knows that trick. The cut looked significant and appeared that it would leave a scar and permanent disfigurement. I think Shanika knows how to bust people the hard way. Later, law enforcement caught up with Sirdal south of the 7-Eleven. After the victim identified her as the alleged culprit, she was detained and brought back to the scene of the crime. Is that your 7-Eleven can? Is that blood spatter that you caused? I asked Shanika what happened, and she advised me that while inside the 7-Eleven, the victim was saying rude things to her and being disrespectful, the deputy writes. Shanika said the victim at one point called her a C word.
Ooh, bad choice.
And it wasn't Chip.
And she wasn't having it.
That's right. Shanika admitted that due to the victim being rude to her, she hit him. Well, how do you like them? Apples.
I mean,
or
some
chips?
people aren't playing, I guess.
That's right. The man who was attacked, however, said he was not being rude at all. As I pulled up to the 7-Eleven, there was a guy sitting outside, and as I got out of the car, he said something under his breath, so I ignored him, and I walked into the 7-Eleven, the victim told the deputy. As I was standing in line, there was a young lady in front of me talking to the cashier. She seemed like she had been drinking. So she stood to the side, and I was about to pay for my drink, and I asked the young lady if she knew the guy outside. The victim told police Sirdal then turned around and hit me in the eye and above my eye with a Pringles chip can and split my brow above my eye.
She's like, how dare you ask me if I'm with that guy?
That's right.
That's it?
That piece of chip, bang, and then right over the eye. A 7-Eleven employee subsequently vouched for the victim's version. So
wow, really?
Yep, said the guy's telling the truth.
Huh. That's crazy.
A male customer got hit in the head by a can of Pringles, the employee told the deputy. All the guy was doing was informing me of another male customer that was laying down on the side of the building. The female called the guy a bitch and whacked him with the Pringles, which literally went flying down one of the aisles. The male customer's eyebrow was split wide open. The deputy said the defendant was eventually found with a can of Pringles on her person because she needed the souvenir. I don't know. He asked her if she paid for that can, and she allegedly replied that she was unsure, according to the affidavit.
In my mind, I envision her double fisting the Pringles, and so she throws one, and then she walks out with the other.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You think?
The decoy Pringles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, walk.
Ninja move. So what do you hit them with the pizza Pringles, and then you keep the sour cream and onion?
I think that's what I would do.
Yeah, the pizza Pringles are garbage anyway. Due to not having immediate access to the camera, Shanika was not charged for the petty theft due to the lack of evidence at the time of her arrest. Oh, so that's why. Right. The defendant was arrested that same day. Sirdal is not listed as an inmate at the Orange County Jail as of the time that this article was written. So take it for what you will. If you thought that story was bizarre, Jess, boy, do I have another one that will absolutely blow your mind.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
You were out with your daughter earlier in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Did you play any weird games with the car?
No.
No? You didn't go do donuts or anything with the car, or you didn't see how fast the car would go? You didn't take her out and say, I'll let you race it as fast as you can. This is the last time you'll do that with me? No?
No. If I don't fully stop for the full 3 seconds when she's in the car, I hear about it. If I turn and I don't get in the right lane and I go in the other lane without using my signal, I hear about it. This is what these new drivers do. So if I was doing donuts, I would be in big trouble.
I want you to take a quick look at Mother of the Year right here.
Aw.
See how innocent she's trying to look?
I mean,
don't feel any pity. Take that out of your lexicon right now.
She did something bad, huh?
I'm about to tell you about the game she played with her 8-year-old daughter.
8-year-old? Oh, no.
In the car, 27-year-old Jasmine White ran over her 8-year-old daughter with the car and gave a bizarre and gave a bizarre excuse that it was part of a game.
What? Oh my gosh. She ran her over?
Ran her over. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The game entailed racing her kids to their car or jumping in, locking the doors, and acting like she was going to leave.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever do that with the kids?
No.
You never tell them, hey, mommy's leaving. Mommy's going to leave you behind here at the theater.
Run and try to get in.
Run and try to get in if you can. If you don't make it, then you get to stay here forever.
Or I'll run you over either way.
This is your new family, and if you really don't make it, I'll run you over, and they can take you to the hospital, your new family, with your new insurance coverage.
Oh my gosh. What? That is terrible. That poor baby.
It's horrible.
These stories make me mad.
I'm sorry. An Indiana woman has been sentenced after running over her 8-year-old daughter during a game that's, in quotes, gone wrong, according to the St. Joseph County Prosecutor's Office. 27-year-old Jasmine White of South Bend, Indiana, told police it happened accidentally during a game she regularly played with her 4 children. That's right, not just one of her children. All 4 of them, Jess, have played this game.
Yeah, it's wonderful that she has 4 children to play with.
Isn't it, though?
Good.
Yeah. Didn't get her tubes tied after one. She just kept going. Yeah. The game entailed racing her kids to their Chevy Equinox, jumping in, locking the doors, and acting like she was going to leave without the kids. Well, that's good for the mental health. One of the children told an investigator on the scene that they didn't like the game, but their mother continued to play it because evidently she thought it was funny. I don't know.
No kidding, they didn't like it. It's so scary. I wonder how old the other ones were.
Yeah. On August 29th of 2024, during a session of the game, White reportedly began driving approximately 15 miles an hour within her apartment complex parking lot while her 8-year-old daughter was outside clinging to the car door's handle.
Oh.
It's a little hard for a kid to keep up, especially an 8-year-old at 15 miles an hour.
Oh, this story's making me so mad, Tim.
That, according to testimony of one of the children that gave that to the investigator at the scene. White's other children were also running alongside the car at the time. The 6-year-old child said White was aware that the 8-year-old was hanging onto the door handle as she drove. White's 6-year-old child told the investigator her mom was driving faster than she usually did, and the 8-year-old was hanging onto the door handle and ended up getting hit by the vehicle after her foot got caught under the rear tire of the car.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. The little girl fell to the ground and hit her head, suffering severe head injuries and losing 5 teeth. It was at this point that she was in critical condition after the incident and was released, or has since been released from the hospital. In January, White pled guilty to 2 counts of child neglect after initially pleading not guilty to the charges. White was sentenced to 9 years with 5 years suspended. She will serve 4 years in St. Joseph County Community Corrections Work Release Program per the St. Joseph's County Prosecutor's Office and will be on probation for 2 years after that. So I ask you this, Jess, fair punishment?
No, she deserved more. She could have killed that child.
Yeah.
Whether she meant it or not, it should have been something more like attempted manslaughter. Is that a thing?
Should have been attempted murder.
Right?
Yeah. But all it was child neglect.
Yeah, that's a little more than child neglect, I hate to say.
There should have been some sort of intent there. That's for sure. But there was no intent shown there. So.
Oh, I'm going to definitely need a palate cleanser after that story.
We have an interesting palate cleanser today, by the way.
Oh.
It's very, very odd. All right, our next story has to do with a man who was accused of robbing the same store 5 times. Evidently, he didn't get the idea that you can move on in your career, I guess.
He's a creature of habit, Tim.
That's right. We go to Aurora, Colorado, Jess, where an Aurora man was arrested last week for a half dozen armed robberies of gas station convenience stores. 5 of those robberies occurred at the same store. He's only 20, though, Jess. I mean, we can cut him a little slack.
All right. He's just a kid, but...
Yeah. 20-year-old Ross Wessner was taken into custody on March 4th, 9 days after the most recent robbery. Wessner held up the Shell gas station at 3385 South Tower Road 5 times, according to the Aurora Police Department, and the 7-Eleven at 18883 East Hampton Avenue once. According to a search of online criminal records, Wessner was arrested by Denver police in May of 2023 on an aggravated robbery charge. He quickly bonded out, but underwent 2 mental health evaluations ordered by the judge. That charge was dropped and the case was closed in September of 2024. Wessner's first robbery in Aurora happened in July of 2024 per Aurora PD, 2 months before Denver's case was dropped. While arrested on 2 felonies by Aurora PD, Wessner will learn the number of charges being pursued against him by the 18th Judicial District prosecutors on Tuesday. Aurora PD credited its gang robbery investigative team, or GRIT, with Wessner's arrest. I don't think they had to work too hard on this one, Jess. I think they pretty much found him in the same spot.
They're like, Wes is back.
Yeah, guess who's back? Mr. Wessner's back. And he's got the same ski mask on and the same gun. And
yeah, Ross, we know it's you.
Yeah. You can take the mask off, buddy. If you just put your hands behind your back, we're just going to read you your rights and take you to jail. This one's not tough. So this next story qualifies as the story that was sent to me the most this week.
Must be a good one.
Or just the dumbest one or the other. This next story has to do with a robber who swallowed $770,000 in diamonds.
Ooh, it's going to come out.
It's going to hurt when it comes out, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Breakfast at Tiffany's was solitaire earrings, according to this article. A Texas man posing as a representative of an NBA player stole diamond jewelry worth about $770,000 from a Tiffany & Company store, according to cops who arrested the suspect after he swallowed several solitaire earrings. Yeah.
Just the thought. I'm crunching at earrings. The pokey backs. That is going to rip stuff up.
Oh, yeah. It's going to hurt. Yeah. I got to think the diamonds alone are going to hurt.
The diamonds would hurt too, but I think they'd be hurt less if they were like in a ring, set in a ring or something a little, not so pokey.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's all going to hurt.
Yikes.
Investigators allege that 32-year-old Jathan Gilder appeared late last month at a Tiffany store in the Mall of Millennia in Orlando, claiming that he was there to negotiate a purchase on behalf of an unnamed Orlando Magic player, according to an arrest affidavit. Gilder, by the way, I have a picture of him. He looks kind of like that one kid on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, he totally does. He looks like a clean-cut fella. I wouldn't expect him to be stealing diamonds and pooping them out later.
Not Michael Che, but the other African-American kid who's on SNL.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah, and not Keenan. Not Keenan and not Michael Che, but the other kid.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I can't either. Gilder was escorted, by the way, to a private viewing room where he was shown a $587,000 diamond ring and 2 sets of diamond earrings worth $609,000 and $160,000. While discussing the purchase and a wire transfer with Tiffany sales associates, Gilder allegedly jumped out of his seat, grabbed the jewelry, and bolted for the door. Gilder fought with a male employee as he sought to leave the VIP room by violently pushing and pulling the doors open. That trick never works, by the way.
Yeah. They take precautions. It's not that easy.
No, they kind of expect that. During the scuffle, the worker succeeded in knocking the diamond ring out of Gilder's hand before the suspect gets the doors open enough to escape, running through Tiffany & Company around staff attempting to stop him. I don't know that sentence makes sense, but okay. Using store and mall surveillance video, a network of public safety cameras, and license plate readers, Police identified a 2024 Mitsubishi Highlander as the suspected getaway vehicle. About 6 hours after the February 26th robbery, the rented SUV was pulled over as it was taking the fastest route back to Texas, cops allege. Gilder, who was alone in the vehicle, swallowed several items as he was being taken into custody. A subsequent scan revealed Gilder's stomach contained foreign objects that investigators believe to be the purloined jewelry. The foreign objects will need to be collected by cops after they are passed through Gilder's system. Oh, God, this just sounds...
Who gets a short stick and has to do that job?
Puts on the rubber gloves and gets to sift through.
Oh, gosh.
A search of the Mitsubishi yielded a host of incriminating evidence, including the clothes worn by the robber and Tiffany price tags that exactly matched the items taken in the robbery. Additionally, the Tiffany worker who fought with the thief picked Gilder out of a police lineup. While in custody at a county lockup, Gilder reportedly spontaneously asked jailers, "Am I going to be charged with what's in my stomach?" Earlier, while Gilder was in the rear of a Florida Highway Patrol cruiser, a trooper heard him say, "I should have thrown them out the window."
Yeah, that would have been smarter.
Yeah. A check of Gilder's lengthy rap sheet revealed that he was arrested in 2022 for a nearly identical robbery and theft from a Tiffany & Company store in suburban Houston, where Gilder resides. He also has been charged in numerous other jewelry heists, including a $133,340 theft at a Houston business to pawn shop smash and grabs. Charged with a pair of felonies, Gilder is being held without bond in the Orange County Jail. He's also the subject of dozens of outstanding warrants in Colorado as well. So good luck with that, Mr. Gilder. Just got to say.
Yeah, he's definitely made a career out of it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Although, if you could truly say that you have laid down a diamond-encrusted shit, well, hey, more power to you. I mean, that makes you somewhat valuable somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's way more interesting than when you have corn for dinner, I guess.
That's right. Or mushrooms, one or the other. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Diamond-encrusted corn.
That was a good story, folks. I'm glad people sent that one in.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. Let's see. I believe we are one story away from not safe for work. This woman, again, is in Florida. She's 51 years old and was arrested on a domestic charge, Jess, but not just any old domestic charge. It was a domestic watermelon battery charge. Boy, I'd like to be beaten.
I can't wait to hear this.
I'd like to be beaten with a watermelon.
And you can be beaten with anything. That's what I'm learning from this show.
Although when you think about it, I mean, unless you cut the watermelon and beat me with the delicious inside where I could open my mouth and start to chew very quickly before you do much damage, being beaten with a solid watermelon could kill you.
Yeah, I mean, it seems really awkward. They're so big, too. Like, how am I going to hang on to that properly enough that I can actually beat you with it?
Right.
I could, like, maybe throw it at you.
Well, they split rather easily, too, as Gallagher would attest. You're right. I mean, the minute they hit you, they either split or they sloosh, right?
It's just like a one and done.
Yeah.
It's not like a Pringles can.
No, oh no. Pringles can will kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Florida woman has been charged with domestic battery for allegedly throwing a watermelon at her boyfriend, who luckily dodged the airborne fruit. He just went...
Good reflexes.
Well, I got to think that thing wasn't traveling very fast either, depending on how many pounds it was. During a verbal confrontation on Sunday evening, 51-year-old Shelley Hardwick allegedly picked up a whole watermelon and threw it in the direction of the victim, according to police. By the way, I'm going to do a little impression of Ms. Hardwick here. I'm going to show you her picture.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Here she comes.
I'm ready.
E.T. phone home. Horrible impression, Shelley. I know, but yeah, was I pretty close?
I don't. Yeah. You were.
Yeah?
I have to say.
Ready?
Bless your heart, Shelley.
Ouch.
It's just the way she's making that face. It's just the way her mouth is like in this white, scowly thing. She looks mad.
Reese's Pieces.
Shelley, I think you're beautiful.
Oh, I didn't say she wasn't beautiful. I'm just saying. Can you draw the parallel there?
I told you. Yes, you nailed it.
Okay, thanks.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I didn't say I nailed
You
her.
are.
I'm just saying that.
You are spot on.
Okay, thank you. Like we said, the 56-year-old man quickly moved out of the way of the incoming watermelon, the weight of which was not disclosed in an arrest affidavit, probably because it crumbled into a million pieces. It's hard to weigh slush, you know?
Well, that's easier than cutting it. Sometimes cutting it is really a pain.
It
I'm
is.
just going to do that from now on. I don't want to cut it. I'm just going to throw it at someone.
It's true. Hardwick told cops she threw the watermelon only out of frustration, but denied tossing it in her beau's direction. Heads up. Upon arrival at the pair's residence, a motel in Dunedin, which is a Gulf Coast city, cops noticed that there was watermelon seeds on the victim's face and clothing. Sexy.
Ouch.
Ouch. Hot. You just see her picking him off his face with that one finger.
Well, she must have gotten it pretty close if he was covered in the watermelon innards.
That could have been like blowback off the wall or something.
Exploded, yeah.
Hardwick was arrested for domestic battery, a misdemeanor. After spending a night in jail, she was released from custody on her own recognizance. Then you know where she went?
Should buy more watermelon?
Home. Come on, these are obvious, Jess. I'm throwing you softballs. Throwing you softballs.
I know, you really are.
A judge has directed Hardwick, who has pleaded not guilty, to have no contact with the victim. Additionally, the judge ordered Hardwick to be outfitted with an ankle bracelet that monitors alcohol consumption.
So they think she was a little intoxicated, are you saying? I mean, I don't know.
You remember
She
that?
looks quite intoxicated.
Remember that
honestly.
scene in E.T. where E.T. had a little bit too much to drink?
Yes.
Yeah, right? I mean, just saying.
Oh. Sorry, Shelley. Don't do stupid things and we won't laugh at you.
That's right. All right, it's time now for Not Safe for Work. The way this works is if you got kids in the room, take them out for a little ride in the car, play a little game with them so they don't have to hear this. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We don't do that anymore. I'm sorry.
Put him down in front of the TV with a little ET.
There
How about
you go.
that?
With a little ET, that's right. And if you're at work, well, then earmuffs for the boss. We're going to read you some stuff that you probably shouldn't be airing for any of your coworkers or your boss. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the one we call Dr. Urine. He's the one that makes you feel all right. He's the one we call Dr. Urine. He's going to be your Frankenstein. Dr. Urine cuts a pee deal with prosecutors.
What?
Dr. Urine, Jess. Dr. Urine.
Okay. Is that really his name?
He's a Florida doctor. Let me show you a picture of Dr. Urine. He's smiling because the flow is all right with him. Look at him.
He looks happy.
Well, when your urine stream is clear, you're a happy guy. Just saying. It turns out that an internist doused his Florida rival's office with gallons of rank fluid.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
How would you like to have your office doused with smelly pee?
No. I don't even like it when my dogs have a little accident in here. Some freaking doctor comes and throws it in my office. I'd be so mad.
In a plea deal, a Florida doctor has admitted to dumping gallons of urine on the front door of a medical practice and has agreed to perform community service, pay restitution, and write a letter of apology to the targets of his body waste bombardment. By the way, a great name for an album, Body Waste Bombardment.
So good. I have to say, though, it's kind of wasted in Florida. I mean, I'm sure it still stinks, but can you imagine someone doing that in Minnesota in the middle of winter? And then you've got heat ice.
Better yet, you do it on a below zero day and let it melt slowly in the springtime. So you don't get the aroma right away.
Yeah.
It melts and then it slowly comes up.
It stinks. Oh. But yet people are still slipping on it and falling on it.
Yeah.
And
oh, that's torture.
double whammy.
Yep. A judge has approved a pretrial intervention agreement struck by prosecutors with 59-year-old internist Giovanni Baula. He's a Baula with the urine. He was arrested last year for criminal mischief. A copy of the agreement was filed in court on March 5th. If Baula successfully completes the 12-month PTI program, don't ask me what PTI means, the felony count will be dismissed by prosecutors. The agreement states that Baula acknowledges and accepts responsibility for the urine attacks. It was a pee-pee attack. And that such acknowledgement is the first step in rehabilitation. Baula was busted for twice dousing a St. Petersburg doctor's office with gallons of fluid, which had the odor of urine, according to the arrest report. The office was occupied by Dr. Dylan Dinesh, who had purchased Baula's medical practice in 2022. Well, he bought your office. Why would you douse him in pee?
That's crazy. So he's just like mad that he's not there anymore?
We'll find out here. In recent months, the defendant became upset with the victim over the business. Cops reported at the time of Baula's arrest, Dinesh initially occupied the premises owned and previously used by Baula, but moved his business due to certain contractual breaches, deficiencies, and inappropriate actions on behalf of Dr. Baula. That according to a civil filing. Additionally, Dinesh accused Baula of violating contractual obligations, forbidding him from engaging in a competitive medical practice. During the business dispute, Baula launched his late-night urine offensives. Offensives. By the way, Late Night Urine Offensives is also a great album name as well, which were recorded by surveillance cameras. So yes, there's video. Court records do not indicate where Baula sourced the urine. Ooh, that's gross.
No.
And so it could have been his own. It could have been somebody else's. It could have been rejected urine.
Which is grosser? If he's just like peeing and bringing gallons of his own urine, like he's saving it up in milk jugs or something, or if it's someone else's, like
rejected drug tests.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's just like a jug of many, that's even worse.
It's grosser on him because he's handling it. And,
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's worse. So, as stipulated in the PTI agreement, Baula agreed to pay Dinesh $7,500 in restitution and about $1,000 in court costs and fees. He'll also perform 20 hours of community service and be subject to random drug testing and psychological evaluation and treatment. Baula must also write a letter of apology to Dinesh and an administrator with Dinesh's practice and have no contact with either of them. While the state's Board of Medicine reviews his biohazard antics, Baula remains licensed in Florida to practice medicine and prescribe controlled substances. State records list Baula's primary practice address as his $2 million waterfront home in Gulfport. And by the way, around that home, Jess, a moat of pee. I'm kidding. I don't know. I have no idea. But I just imagine that it has a moat of pee around it.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Okay, speaking of a moat of pee, I pulled an unusual story that relates to that story, because as long as we're talking about things of the urinary tract that throw us off, let's talk about the urinary tract for a moment, shall we?
All right, let's do it.
Specifically, things that could happen to you if you're in compromising positions, especially while drunk, that could potentially be grosser than gross. And we're talking medical conditions, especially if you're a male. All right. The headline is Alarming Occurrence. Doctors discover maggots in a man's penis after flies were attracted to a foul smell.
Well, probably not. Oh, my gag reflex.
The face you just made. I hope people are watching this on video.
That's so bad.
From a man who got food poisoning in his penis to another whose scrotum swelled to the size of a beach ball, here's a roundup of medical case reports involving Todgers. Doctors were shocked to discover maggots crawling inside a man's penis and bladder. The 76-year-old patient went to the hospital in Nepal complaining of bloody discharge oozing from his member. 2 years ago, he had been diagnosed with an enlarged prostate, which is a common condition. The prostate's a small gland in the pelvis between the bladder and the penis. When the prostate became enlarged, it can press against the bladder and the urethra, the tube that carries the urine out of the body, making it difficult to pee. In his case, published in the International Journal of Surgery Case Reports, doctors said the blockage was severe enough that he needed a catheter inserted to help him pass urine normally. Ouch. When the medics examined him, they found live maggots burrowing into an open wound near his urethra.
Oh, this poor man.
That ain't normal.
How do you not notice that?
You would think you would feel them wriggling around in there. Writing in the journal, doctors from the Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital don't specify how the maggots reached his penis. I'm guessing they crawled. That would be the first way, right?
Yeah, a fly came along and laid some eggs and...
That's right. That's generally how it's done. However, they note that flies are attracted to foul-smelling discharges from body openings where they lay their eggs. These eggs then hatch into maggots. And they said that his wife had been taking care of his personal hygiene. So note to self, kids, don't let your wife wash your wiener.
She must hate him.
Yeah, she probably never touched it. Or if she did, she just took the wash rag and kind of whipped it.
It kind of begs the question, why was it just out there for a fly to come along and lay eggs in the first place? Shouldn't he be covered up?
Maybe she didn't bother.
I guess.
If you're ready for even more disturbing, Jess?
It can't be worse than that, Tim.
Some baby maggots called larvae were spotted wriggling through his urethra, raising fears they had made their way into his bladder.
Oh, God.
A cystoscopy, where a doctor uses a camera to examine his urinary tract, confirmed there were suspicions the tiny parasites had invaded his bladder. The condition, known as urogenital myiasis,
your asses, not mine.
happens when flies lay eggs in open cuts or moist areas. It most commonly happens to patients with poor hygiene or mobility issues. The man who had suffered a stroke was dependent on his wife to keep him clean, and he was an easy target. Doctors immediately set to work using turpentine oil to force the maggots to surface before manually removing them.
Oh, this poor man. I hope his wife is charged with neglect or something.
She has to be.
This is terrible.
His bladder was then flushed with saline solution, and he was given a dose of ivermectin, which is, again, a drug used to kill parasites. After an 11-day hospital stay, the patient was discharged with a clean bill of health. And then the wife was told, just don't whip it with a wash rag. You actually have to do something with it.
She needs to be fired.
Yeah, she needs to be jailed. A follow-up cystoscopy confirmed no remaining larvae, and he was later... And he later underwent circumcision to reduce the risk of further infections. So he wasn't circumcised.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my! I hope they put them to sleep when they were doing all of this. I hope he was not awake for all of the flushing with turpentine oil and.
Can you imagine the torture if he wasn't anesthetized somewhat?
Yeah. Oh.
Doctors treating the man wrote, the discovery of maggots in both the penis and urinary bladder is an uncommon and alarming occurrence. They said urogenital myiasis into your asses. I love that line, by the way. In the penis is not uncommon, but infestation of bladder is very rare, and it indicates the severe and invasive nature of the disease. By the way, the guy who got food poisoning in his junk, he was. There's a man. I can't even say this. There was a man who was forced to have his junk amputated after developing gangrene following excessive alcohol consumption.
What? That can happen?
Yeah.
You need to tell every boy on a college campus about this. Calling my son right now.
It's believe it or not, it can happen with diabetics.
Gosh, that's terrible.
Doctors found bacteria that tends to cause food poisoning in a man's penis as well.
How?
I don't know. It doesn't have teeth.
Was he sticking it in a pie?
Yes, that's exactly what it was. He stuck in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I."
You just ruined a nursery rhyme, Tim.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's what I'm here for. A man had to have part of his penis amputated after a sex toy strangled his member and left it blackened and gangrenous.
Oh my gosh, what kind of toy was that?
They called it the Strangler.
Like a noose?
Yes, a noose. No, it was probably one of those ones that does the old twisty turny, let's have a choke party deal. I don't know.
I don't know my sex toys, so I'm not familiar. I just know dildos and beads, anal beads and dildos.
That's all I would expect you to know. Yeah. There's no quiz.
Mostly from this show, from people hitting each other with them.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't. There's no quiz at the end of this, by the way. So, yeah, I'm not expecting you to know much.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah. A man's scrotum ballooned to the size of a beach ball over a decade, hanging below his knees.
How did he move?
Slowly.
And why? Why is it so big? So many questions.
I'm just giving you the highlights. And a man's rotted from the inside after he inserted 3 button batteries into his urethra.
Why would you do that?
Because you always hear about how Duracell or Energizer keeps you energized or whatever it is, whatever the commercial is. I don't know.
The story, Tim.
I know. Just saying. There's a
rotted from the inside.
Yeah. There's a new book out there that details all this stuff. So
there's a book about this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to buy it. What's the name of it?
I'll send you the link.
Sounds like a bedtime story.
It does. It's like horrifying bedtime stories that will keep you awake for the rest of your life, I think is what the name of the book is. But, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know I'm going to be awake for the rest of the night now, and I've only had 3 hours sleep. There you go.
Yeah, this is traumatizing. I'm sorry, fellas, to all the fellas out there listening.
Well, let's traumatize the ladies, and then we'll have a palate cleanser, and then we'll be done. All right? Here you go, ladies. Here's one to even it up for you. They've talked about all the different issues down at the border, so to speak. One disgraced border agent admits he ordered women to expose their breasts if they wanted to enter the U.S.
What a jerk.
It's true.
Fire that man.
I think he has been. He's a former border agent now. A former Border Patrol agent has admitted he ordered at least 2 female border crossers to show him their breasts. In one case, telling a woman she couldn't enter the U.S. until she complied. This according to a shocking report.
What a jerk.
53-year-old Shane Milan. Yes, you can now have his head put on targets that you can shoot at, ladies. Pleaded guilty to 2 counts of deprivation of rights under color of law last week. I didn't even know that was a charge, but now we know.
Wow.
Admitting that he demanded multiple women, this is multiple women, to lift up their shirts and expose themselves to him as he conducted virtual hearings at the Eagle Pass crossing in Texas. Can you believe that?
Sadly, I can, but it's bad.
Milan was based in Jefferson County, New York, but conducted interviews via webcam. He wasn't even in Texas. He was in New York.
So he's just getting his jollies from literally across the United States.
Yep. So you don't make it in unless you show me the girls via webcam. And that actually worked.
I mean, what are you going to do? If he said it to their face, they might punch him in the eye, but he's on the camera.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? During one such interview on August 10th of 2023, Milan told a woman with a 1-year-old child that he needed to see a tattoo on her chest. The Miami Herald reported this. When she claimed she didn't have one, he demanded she lift up her shirt to prove it, and she complied. But later in the interview, he demanded she lift up her shirt again. When she said no, Milan told her he wouldn't sign off on her paperwork until she agreed to show him her bare chest again. When she did, he reportedly told her, okay, welcome to the USA.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're not all like that.
Yeah, exactly. Milan admitted that while acting under color of law as a Border Patrol agent, he willfully deprived multiple victims of their constitutional right to be free from unreasonable searches. The U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District of New York said in a statement, he told these women that his requests were for legitimate searches incident to admission into the United States, but he knew his demands to see the victim's breasts were for his own gratification. Milan also searched the internet for various Spanish translations, including phrases like, I will need you to lift your shirt and bra also, please, and, quote, to verify, I will need you to lift your shirt, please, the Herald reported, citing court records. So those language programs really do come in handy, Jess.
Yes. Especially if you're a perv.
Yep. Milan will be sentenced in July. He faces up to only... How many years in prison do you think for this?
Oh, probably just a couple.
You're right. Only 2 years in prison.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But the fine is $200,000.
That hurts.
That'll take a chunk out.
Yeah.
Because I don't think
I
don't think border crossing guards make that much money.
No, I don't know what they make, but $200,000, that's legit. You're going to feel it.
Yeah, you're going to feel that one. As opposed to, at least he didn't have to get to feel any of these women. He wasn't there in person.
I mean, it is better that he wasn't there in person because what would he do? Like, probably more than that.
Yeah.
Clearly has issues.
Yeah, he was only one step away from actual physical sexual assault. So, But I mean, it's still traumatizing. I mean, he's still doing major damage with what he did.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a sexual assault of a different kind.
Yeah, it is. It is. Information about Milan's legal representation was not immediately available, but I can't imagine anyone wanting to take his case. I'm just saying. I wouldn't want to take it if I were a lawyer. I can't imagine how you're going to win it. But all right, your palate cleanser for today is a play on words. There's a little Florida village out there called Taintsville, but it isn't what you think.
Oh, Florida, you don't disappoint. Never.
They say they're called Taintsville because we taint in Chuluota and it taint in Oviedo either. It's not because Florida is the asshole of the nation, which I came up with. We go to Seminole County, Florida, and those driving east along County Road 419 might see a sign at the side of the road with the name Taintsville plastered across it.
You know we'd be stopping and taking selfies with that.
Oh, God, yeah. In fact, as a matter of fact, this is what the sign looks like, Jess, right here. This is an actual road sign.
Oh, my gosh.
It says...
We would probably be taking that off of the metal. I mean, I know it's against the law, and like taking that home so we could hang it up in our office.
Oh, yeah. Taintsville. I would... It's the village of Taintsville. I would request a sign be sent to us.
Yes. Welcome to Taintsville.
Welcome to Taintsville. Well, not a commonly known area, Taintsville is a small unincorporated village nestled between Oviedo and I believe it is Chula. I can't say it. I said it before. Chulota. There you go. Chulota.
Right. It's nestled between two things, just like the taint.
That's right. See? Taintsville. Its name might evoke a more vulgar connotation, but it actually stems back to the 1970s when it was okay to take a look at your taint between two towns. Just saying. According to a local historian, Jason Byrne, the county used to have many in-between areas, a wilderness between major towns, and this was one such area. Rumor has it this wilderness has grown out of control, that they don't keep it trimmed up.
Exactly a taint.
That's right. As a result of not belonging to any specific town, there was a lot of confusion for locals during this period. There were all kinds of venting about how letters wouldn't get delivered or how they would try to explain to people where they live, Burns said. Zip codes were around by then, but I think there was still a little bit optional. Not all roads had names, he said. However, residents didn't want to be lumped in with the nearby Chulota or Oviedo. They wanted their own identity. They taint this or taint that. They just wanted to be a taint. Right? They wanted to have a border. A soft, fleshy border between the two towns. Just saying.
I mean, I get it.
Byrne explained that the few dozen families who lived there began joking about making their own town, though that soon became a real discussion. During one such conversation, a teenager named Boyd Best, of course it was a teenager that named the town.
I was going to say, don't trust a teen boy to name your town.
That's right. Was complaining about how hard it was to tell his friends where he lived. Byrne added, "We tain't in Chulota, and we tain't in Oviedo either," Best exclaimed, and then he giggled. And with that, the name Taintsville was born.
It sounds so sweet and innocent, and yet so dirty.
It is so dirty. Neighbors stealthily put up signs at that point to indicate that the new and yet unauthorized name, causing confusion between the county and the state as to who would had them put up those signs, that is. The signage looked professional enough, and each assumed the other had placed it. So they didn't know who put the signs up, but they left them up anyways. Byrne wrote, about a week later, the jig was up and the government removed the signs. Aw.
You know, they just took them home and stuck them on their walls. They're like, check this out, guys.
Taintsville, dude. It's in my office. Despite the setback, villagers eventually persuaded a county commissioner to add the issue to the county's agenda at an upcoming meeting. County records show that the village was officially recognized as Taintsville in 1971. A resident named Ted Peterson told the county commission that every property owner he had talked to was on board with the name. That's right. We love our taint. That's what they said. And we love our Taintsville. Peterson stated their request was made in all seriousness, and they feel the quaintness of the name will be an asset and will draw interest. Nowadays,
well, certainly drawing some interest.
They feel the quaint of the taint, Jess, and by God, they want to be associated with it.
I guess so. It wasn't called a taint in the 70s. Did that region just not have a name?
It just didn't. No.
It didn't. Nobody had a name for that part of the body.
I think they did, but you know,
it wasn't taint.
Yeah. Nowadays,
where did taint come from?
Where did taint? Well, it taint the taint the asshole.
Is that where it came from?
Yeah.
So the same thing? It was another teenage boy looking at himself going, well, it taint my penis and it taint my butthole.
Taint my balls, taint my asshole. So that's,
all right.
Yeah, that's where it came from. Yeah.
God bless this story. It just made my entire day.
Nowadays, the word taint has come to mean the area between a person's anus and genitals. It says it right in the story, Jess.
In case you didn't know this name is weird.
That's right. Which leads to the village's name taking on a much more comedic meaning. See, they blow the joke for you. Well, they aren't going to blow the joke for you. I mean, if you pay a little extra, they will. But
yeah, that'll cost you $5 extra, Tim.
That's right. It is definitely the connotation that word has taken in modern times, which I don't believe it had in the 70s, Byrne said. That has made it all the more peculiar. Right, Byrne says with a wink and a nod. I think taint was around in the 70s.
I feel like it had to have been. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I hope they have great festivals in Taintsville, though. I hope they really play it up.
I think they probably do. Yeah. If you want to know more about the history of Taintsville and other locations in Florida, Byrne has a history blog, a Florida history blog. We'll put a link to it in the description of this program if you want to learn more about Taintsville. We'll just put it this way. The history of Taintsville, a little hairy. But we feel you can get through it just fine. Just keep your hands above board and try not to get lost in the weeds, so to speak. So there you go. But that's your palate cleanser.
I just want to know when we're road tripping there, Tim.
Whenever you want.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll be over in 20 minutes.
I want to know if we can get somebody to send us Taintsville t-shirts.
Oh my gosh. There's so many t-shirts we need. We need the Come and Go t-shirts.
Yeah.
We need the Taintsville t-shirts.
Yep. So you know what? Somebody in the chat room sent me a link for the Come and Go t-shirts. So I'll get you
I
one.
saw that. Yeah. We got to get some.
Yeah, we'll get Come and Go t-shirts.
There was a cool, like, vintage looking one. I kind of want that.
Yeah. So we'll get Come and Go t-shirts. Now we just need Taintsville t-shirts.
All right, friends. Find us a link to the Taintsville t-shirts. Jim and I want to go shopping.
This is just going to become the dirty t-shirt podcast, I think, after a while. That's what it's going to end up becoming.
That's a new segment.
The dirty t-shirt podcast. Yay. People are going to be like, yeah, change the podcast. We just want dirty t-shirt.
Be like, dirty t-shirt of the week.
Oh, don't suggest the segment because then they're going to want it. Today's dirty t-shirt is brought to you by TeePublic. I'm going to get sponsorship now for it. If TeePublic wants to sponsor it, then by gosh, we're going to do it. Just saying. You think we could do it?
So, I'll model it.
There you go. Jess will model it. If we can get sponsorship, Jess will model it. Dirty t-shirt of the week. I'm just saying.
I was going to say, you could even throw water on it. No, just kidding.
Wow. Rush Order Tees, TeePublic. There's got to be someone out there who will sponsor it.
So committed to the show, Tim.
I'm telling you, Jess is so committed to the bit. That's why I love her, folks. I'm just saying.
Also, people might stop watching or listening.
Are you kidding? Some of our highest watched video episodes are you.
Oh, bless your heart.
You just committed to a bit you can't get out of right now. I'm telling you. You just got yourself in trouble.
I blame you.
Yeah. Well, don't blame me. You're the one who said, I'll even throw water on it. It wasn't me. Didn't come out of my mouth, sister. Just saying. Anyways, so you don't get in any more trouble. What's new over there at jessicafreeberg.com? Just saying.
You know what? Just books, guys. Do you want to buy some books? You can find them there. Always love connecting with you guys on social media too. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Say hi. I love it.
Yeah, buy a book. She'll throw water on it.
I just got a box of them and the UPS person must have spilled coffee on it because I've got a bunch that are covered in coffee. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these?
Say they're a special edition Starbucks editions.
Not quite a wet t-shirt contest, but adjacent.
They were shipped from Colombia. Oh,
Oy.
you know, I mean, there's always different ways you can spin it, Jess. I mean, there's got to be something you can do, right?
Yeah, they should be worth more.
They should be worth more, yeah, but they're not.
And they're fancy. I'll dump some wine on them next.
Yeah.
Maybe a little Chinese food.
There's got to be something, right? There's always something.
Anyway, that's what I have going on.
That's right. I want to thank Ande Pliego for being on the show today. By the way, the book is amazing. You Are Fatally Invited is the name of the book. It is phenomenal. It's one of the best books I've read in the last 5 years. Present company excluded, of course. But it is a phenomenal book. I encourage you guys to go get it. Link in the description of this program. So go check that out. Boy, have we got a good week this week, Jess. Holy cow.
Yay.
Another good week. Let's see, how can I tease this? Tomorrow we've got Mally Fox in Supernatural News. Thursday, we have a couple of paranormal investigators with us, one of whom, again, you've seen on television. You know very well. He's been on this program once before. And will be back on television here shortly.
Ooh.
On a program that you've seen a lot of different investigators on. Another investigator is up and coming. And you've seen him a lot on social media. And has some really intriguing content.
Oh, I'm so interested. I want to know. I'm excited.
His stuff is really good. And he's a historian as well.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah. The two of them together are an intriguing pair. And I chose to put them both on together for a very special reason. You'll find out on Thursday. But it's going to be a very, very cool show.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had a cool show coming up on Thursday. So, yeah. And by the way, I want to say thank you real quick to Katrina Weidman and Heather Taddy. We had to move some stuff around in order to get the show recorded last week, and they moved a lot of stuff around in order to get that show done. So I want to thank them both for moving stuff around, because they have some very busy schedules. So I want to thank them so much for accommodating me and getting stuff done.
Yeah. That was such a great show too.
Yeah, it was fun. A lot of fun. So thank those ladies both. So that is what's going on this week with Darkness Radio. So that'll do it for today for True Crime Tuesday. For Jessica Freeberg, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for continuing to listen to us here on the best in true crime podcasting. We'll see you tomorrow for Supernatural News. And thank you so much for listening to True Crime Tuesday.